So, Mr. President, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me ask you first. Israel wants to destroy Iran's nuclear capability and its missile capability, and you have made progress on both of those fronts. Does Israel, Mr. President, also want to remove the regime in Tehran?
That's not a formal objective of this operation. The operation was targeted in order to remove the inherent and imminent threat of the Iranian nuclear bomb because of developments, most of them clandestine, that led to this development. And it has followed the consecutive Israeli governments, which always said and made it clear we will remove any threat, nuclear threat to Israel by our enemies. However, having said that, we know that the Iranian people, millions and millions of them, are oppressed by their regime, and they may find an opportunity to bring a change there because they're fed up. After all of their, so much of their money and resources went to spread terror and havoc all over the world.
And so you therefore, from that and other things that the leader, Mr. Netanyahu, has said, you think the removal of the regime, well, certainly would be a desired outcome, but you think also perhaps a likely one?
I don't know. First of all, I must explain to your viewers and listeners, I'm the head of state.
Indeed.
Parallel to the British monarch. And so there's a prime minister and an executive branch who runs this operation.
Indeed.
I would say, for me, who's been in world affairs for decades and spoken to multitude of world leaders who always reiterated the mantra, we cannot enable Iran to have nuclear weapons. Iran is a danger to the world. Well, guys, it's happening now. And the Iranian people may simply decide that they want a different fate and a different direction. And it could bring a brand new Middle East with a different trajectory of hope and, please God, peace.
Right. I mean, you would clearly wish to see, you think that would be nothing but a positive outcome. I just want to ask you in passing.
Yeah, on a personal level, you're up.
Indeed. Yeah, that is your clear view. And also in your clear view, Mr. President, would it be useful, do you think, to assassinate Iran's supreme leader? And if so, tell me why.
I have no interest and willingness to respond to this because, number one, it's not in my domain. And number two, I always believe that, some of this rhetoric is a bit show-offish. We're at war with an empire of evil that for decades and decades had advocated a few things. Eradicate Israel, fight the West, fight the big Satan America, but with a jihadist ideology which believes in removing all of us out of here, those infidels who don't believe in the Shia religion. And spread terror in a huge amount of activities all over the world, so much bloodshed and pain all over the world. And then they spend billions of dollars. And you ask yourself, why would a tiny little tribe like the Houthis in Yemen, 50,000 people in all, be armed to their head with missiles such as cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, which medium-sized nations in the world don't have? It's because they're aiming to eradicate Israel with nuclear weapons and terror and missiles and move on. And what Israel is doing in many ways is defending the free world and Europe. You know what? Chancellor Merz of Germany was really honest, had moral clarity by saying yesterday, Israel is doing our dirty work, and it's true.
Right. Now, Mr. President, of course, we've seen that Tehran, I mean, you talk about Iran's nuclear ambitions. Tehran, of course, denies trying to build a nuclear weapon. And yes, we could say, well, they would say that, wouldn't they? But also the U.S. National Security Director, Tulsi Gabbard, she said in March that there was no intelligence to show Iran was building a nuclear weapon. And I spoke to a former inspector at the Atomic Energy Agency just yesterday who argued that Iran was enriching uranium to try to pressure the relaxation of sanctions. So tell me, why are you so sure when you tell me that Iran is building a bomb and is close to doing that?
I will tell you outright, we didn't seek this war, nor did we want it. And history teaches us that you can be like an ostrich and believe that all is well, like this inspector. But let's be honest about it. For the first time in history, the International Atomic Agency from Vienna took a clear and firm decision against Iran, saying Iran is violating its rules over the week, and based itself on a report by its director, Rafael Grossi, which has been a very far-reaching and aggressive report because Iran has been cheating. In addition to that, Tulsi Gabbard's report came out 2 months ago. Since seen very, very clear intel, which we presented to the White House and the intelligence, the American intelligence, where we have shown that they had a clandestine armament team. You see, when you produce a bomb, and most of our viewers and listeners don't really do that these days, to produce a nuclear bomb, you need to have enriched uranium, which they've reached 60%, which, there's no reason except for a nuclear bomb, and built the weaponry, which, the explosive and how you build the bomb. And there they moved quite substantially. In terms of timetable, we are convinced that they were very close to the bomb.
Okay. So you are convinced by the evidence that we've seen, and just by, you argue, the process of logic.
Very good intent. And may I add that this was a consensus by everybody in Israel who was exposed to it.
Right. Okay. Look. So you have that conviction. I mean, you don't need to be an expert to figure out that if the Iranian regime survives, it might be able to rebuild its damaged nuclear capacity and even accelerate the efforts to build a bomb.
That's why you need the international community.
Right. Right. And so
able to carry a stick, and deal with carrot and a stick policy, and make clear that you're not allowing Iran to get back to that program.
Yes.
I think we are hurting that program substantially in many sites, and since we are not technical people, but I get reports that are quite impressive to that effect. And yet, in addition to that, I believe that we are serving the national security interests of most of the free world and its leaders. Including the G7 countries who met in Canada this week.
Right. It does then follow from that, doesn't it? That Israel needs America's active help. It needs those American bombers and those heavy bombs and weaponry to even hope of destroying Iran's underground nuclear sites. You can't succeed without American direct involvement.
I don't want to say anything because, there's so many analysts who said Israel cannot attack alone and a lot of things. The great thing about Israel that we've shown immense ingenuity. I'm not intending to recommend anything to other leaders in the world. I believe it's a huge duty. They were also appointed by the Security Council and the international agencies to supervise and take firm action if Iran violates it. They threatened the Iranians a couple of times in recent years, again and again, about the violations by the Iranians and where it's moving. So this doesn't mean world war, and it doesn't mean conquest or anything like that. It means operations that will remove this threat for the well-being of the world and the region.
Yes, but you need that international cooperation, by which I clearly infer America more than any other power. You need that to achieve mission accomplished.
So I'm saying to you that we have many, many alternatives, but of course we have a frank and honest dialogue with our allies in the United States of America. And we're grateful to President Trump for his great support and his administration's support, and also previous administrations who supported Israel in this demand that Iran does not have nuclear weapon capability.
Okay, let me ask you this. It seems pretty clear that President Trump had been trying to restrain Israel in his previous contacts with Prime Minister Netanyahu until this point. His preference was negotiation with Iran. That's widely.
By the way, Israel said, fine, we trust Donald Trump that he can bring a deal, but the Iranians don't understand that.
Okay, but now we are where we are.
It's the same approach. Let's go one step above. This is called the jihadist approach. They have an empire of evil. They have proxies all around the region. These proxies never compromise, like Gaza. Okay, Hamas in Gaza has been offered time and again in the last few months ceasefire deals and major change in the region that would enable all the life in Gaza to go back. but they refuse. They don't give a damn about their people. They are jihadists, and jihadists
Yeah.
believe in time, but we believe in life, and
Yes.
the world believes in life, and other nations believe in life, and that's why this is a very crucial moment in world history.
Okay, so Mr. President, we are where we are. Israel pressed the attack, and we are now looking at a very real possibility of huge escalation with a massive amount of harm to world trade, to energy prices, to the world
But why would that?
economy.
Explain to me why would that happen? I mean, they've attacked with their missiles. They've attacked Israel. We are delineating, their missile capability. I'm not in any way feeling, full safety. But why do you see that happening?
So, well, I mean, let me put this then to you. The Supreme Leader has said that if America joins in on Israel's side, there would be enormous harm, a very direct threat. There would be escalation, and with that, disruption of world trade, damage to the world economy, and other consequences. But, Mr. President, do you accept, please do tell me, is Israel, in this course, taking a huge gamble?
Israel is not taking a huge gamble. Israel is doing whatever needs to be done in order to remove an imminent threat. And it is exposing that, to the Iranian people and to the world what its capabilities and what the capabilities of the Iranians are. I'm not shying away from difficult questions and definitely not from the risks involved. But on the other hand, when you weigh in on that, you understand that what we've done, thank God for that. And I can tell you that many leaders in the world bless us for that.
Yes, I mean, you will have your supporters clearly, and I know we're running out of time.
Supporters, the people who whisper in our ear and say thank you, thank you.
Yeah, and you'll also recognise, Mr. President, there are also many people and leaders around the world who, at this moment, will be deeply, deeply worried about where this conflict may lead.
So we are not warmongers. We were willing to get to an exit strategy that enables the region to go back to peaceful existence without an Iranian nuclear threat looming above all our heads. It's obvious. When you have an ideology that says eradicate the state of Israel, and in addition to that, building nuclear capability, you realize that the risk is enormous, and we cannot leave it as such. And the Western world, which we are part and parcel of course, tends to postpone things because people want to live in their lives. They don't want to fight. But unfortunately, there are moments that you need to fight.
Yes. President Trump, last question then. President Trump says what he wants is unconditional surrender. What does unconditional surrender, Mr. President, mean?
The last thing I want is to interpret Donald Trump. I think that he has a strategic view, a brilliant strategic view in understanding the situation. He's been negotiating with the Iranian leaders. He had a negotiator meeting with the Iranian leadership. And then they discovered they've been goofed. So I think that, I trust Donald Trump in knowing what he wants to achieve. At the end, I believe what he wants to achieve is peace and quiet and well-being for Israel, for the Middle East, and for the world at large.
Right. And it would be possible, in your view, to declare victory for Israel, to declare victory and still have the Iranian regime still standing.
I'm not interpreting him. I think
no, that's a question to you, Mr. President.
Are on the ground, and these possibilities are some of the options that are laid on the table. It's obvious to us.
Mr. President, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.